Good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Kurt Risch, and welcome to One Shepherd. I am so glad you joined us as we start our new reading of the second book of Kings. From the ascension of the prophet Elijah to heaven through the eventual fall of Israel and Judah, 2 Kings continues the history begun in 1 Kings of one people and two kingdoms. The narrative does not merely celebrate the Israelites. Instead, it displays both high and low points in the history of Israel and Judah. While it is true that few of the kings of the northern kingdom of Israel are spoken of highly, the kings of the southern kingdom of Judah do not fare much better. 1st and 2nd Kings are more than a recounting of names and facts. The books describe a people without direction, leaders who failed to lead, and a God who was forced to discipline his rebellious people. About the author and composition. Like 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings were originally one book in Hebrew. The book was divided in two parts when the Old Testament was translated into Greek in about 150 BC. Hence, the debate over the authorship of 1 Kings applies equally to the authorship of 2 Kings. Many evangelical biblical scholars continue to endorse the traditional view that Jeremiah wrote the books of the Kings. They point to Jeremiah's priestly origin, his prophetic activity, his access to governmental authorities at the highest level, and his closest personal involvement in the complex religious, social, and political activities that occurred during the collapse and fall of Judah in the early 16th century BC. Jeremiah was certainly in an ideal position to know the spiritual situation of the day and to have access to state records, historical information, and other source material necessary for writing such a book. Jeremiah could well have written and compiled the book during the period of religious reform led by King Josiah. About the historical content. 2 Kings continues the history of the divided kingdom from the point where the 1 Kings ends, with the reigns of Ahaziah in the northern kingdom and Jehoshaphat in the southern kingdom. It traces the events in the rest of Israel's third dynasty, together with corresponding details in Judah during the reigns of Jehoram and Ahaziah. In so doing, it describes details especially relevant to the prophetic ministries of Elijah and Elisha. During this period, the northern kingdom faced continued pressure from Aram, that is Syria, under its kings Ben-Hadad II and Hazael, as well as new threats from the rising state of Assyria with its powerful king Shalmaneser III. And this is taking place approximately in 858 to 824 BC. The account of the fourth dynasty in Israel begins with a purge of the rampant Baal worship that plagued the first three dynasties. Unfortunately, the founder of this dynasty, Jehu, was an opportunist who used the attack on Baal worship to further his own causes. Rather than keeping the law completely, he perpetuated the apostate religion initiated by Jeroboam I, the worship of calves at Bethel and Dan. The successors in the fourth dynasty proved little better. The corresponding rulers of the southern kingdom ranged from the wicked Athaliah to Josiah and Amaziah, who received mild divine commendation. Externally, the Aramean menace was ended by the military campaign of Adad Nerari III of Assyria. Yet Assyria itself passed into a period of decline that spanned the first half of the 8th century BC. With the death of Zechariah in 752 BC, the northern kingdom entered into a time of rapid decline that mirrored its spiritual condition. The combined effects of spiritual apostasy and moral debauchery, together with unwise political entanglements with Assyria, ultimately brought the northern kingdom to its end in 722 BC. Meanwhile, Jotham and his wicked son Ahaz were ruling the southern kingdom of Judah. Ahaz was so evil that even the godly Isaiah had little effect on the king's spiritual condition. The scriptures attribute Judah's ultimate demise to the idolatry of this king. The remainder of 2 Kings deals with the varying fortunes and spiritual pilgrimage of the southern kingdom, tracing Judah's history from the righteous Hezekiah to the wicked sons of Josiah, under whom Jerusalem faced 3 invasions and deportations, the last in 586 BC. Thus Judah was increasingly caught up in the complex international events that took place from the late 8th to the early 6th century BC. Judah's ability to maintain its identity in the midst of its powerful neighbors was due on one hand to God, who was faithful to his covenant with the house of David, and on the other hand to the spiritual gains made during the reigns of the 2 faithful kings, Hezekiah from 729 to 699 BC, and Josiah, who reigned approximately from 640 to 609 BC. However, the forces of apostasy that had brought about the collapse of the northern kingdom also took their toll in the southern kingdom. Judah was led away captive, and their exile would last 70 years. 2 Kings ends on this tragic note. Only the final word of Jehoiakim's release provides a ray of hope in the darkness of captivity. The symbolic message is clear. The Lord would still fulfill his promise to restore his people. Christ in the Scriptures. When Elijah pointed to Jesus, but was a clearer forerunner of John the Baptist, it is the younger man for whom Elijah prepared the way. Elisha, who definitely reminds us of Jesus when you stop and think about it. The similarities are impressive. Elijah, like John the Baptist, lived apart from the people, and he stressed the law, judgment, and repentance. But Elisha, like Jesus, lived among the people and emphasized grace, life, and hope. And then we do have an outline here, guys, which is 1, the divided kingdom, and part A, the 3rd dynasty, part B, the 4th dynasty, and part C, the decline and fall of Israel. Part 2, the southern kingdom alone. A is the reign of Hezekiah, B, the reigns of Manasseh and Amon, C, the reign of Josiah, D, the last kings of Judah and the fall of Jerusalem, and E, the 2 historical appendices. And then we have a summary of the historical reigns that the book covers, which starts with Jehoshaphat in 872 BC, and it ends in 586 BC with Judah being taken captive by the Babylonians. One just quick comment, guys. All the dates are approximate dates, but they should be reasonably close. Anyhow, on that note, guys, that is it for today's reading. I pray this has been a blessing to you. And just a quick reminder to check out some of our other videos. You can see some on the screen now. Or check out our 3 different playlists, one for the Old Testament, one for the New Testament, and then we have a playlist called Study With Us. Guys, may you have a great day, and may God bless.